President Obama there, elected in 2008, served 2 terms, and then yielded there to President Donald Trump.
The setting at the Washington National Cathedral was solemn, yet the imagery was electrifying. All 5 living presidents gathered to honor the life and legacy of Jimmy Carter, the 39th President of the United States. Among the notable moments, the one garnering the most attention was the interaction between President-elect Donald Trump and former President Barack Obama, 2 men who have publicly sparred in the past but now shared whispered exchanges.
We were both observing that Donald Trump and Barack Obama have a lot to say to each other.
Yeah, they were having a
because they sure were.
I'm sure the lip readers will try to get a hold of that, but it is a chance for the President's Club. Unfortunately, sometimes you have to get together for a funeral.
This brief moment of interaction served as a stark contrast to the heated public history between the 2 leaders. The gathering of past presidents symbolized a uniquely American tradition where political adversaries set aside their differences during moments of national significance. Yet, their previous exchanges still lingered in the public consciousness, a reminder of the sharp divides in their leadership styles and philosophies.
Donald Trump is here tonight. Now, I know that he's taken some flack lately, but no one is happier, no one is prouder to put this birth certificate matter to rest than the Donald. And that's because he can finally get back to focusing on the issues that matter. Like, did we fake the moon landing? What really happened in Roswell? And where are Biggie and Tupac?
Obama's humor at the 2011 White House Correspondents' Dinner captured his ability to use wit as a weapon. Trump's stone-faced reaction to the jabs was famously stoic, signaling the start of a political grudge that would continue for years. Now, as president-elect, Trump was in a position of power, and his critique of Obama's leadership became even more direct and pointed.
He's a president who's done a horrible job. Everybody understands that. He's a president who's allowed many of these countries to totally take advantage of him, and us, unfortunately. And he's got to say something. And it's unusual that every time he has a press conference, he's talking about me. So, it's just one of those things. But I will say this. He is a man who shouldn't be really, airing his difficulties, and he shouldn't be airing what he's airing where he is right now.
Despite the contentious history, their meeting at Carter's funeral carried an air of gravitas. It represented a moment of civility, even as their previous criticisms of one another painted a vivid picture of their ideological differences. While these gatherings are meant to unify, they often highlight the political realities of the moment.
Term just weeks away, everyone's preparing in their own way. For example, I'm getting 6 IUDs. Bring it, sperm. But knowing how much Trump lies, it's more important than ever for everyone to rededicate themselves to the pursuit of truth.
Facebook announced it is getting rid of fact-checkers.
Or that. Guess you could just live your truth. That's right, Facebook is ending fact-checking, as Mark Zuckerberg announced, apparently while entering his Gen Z era.
The recent elections also feel like a cultural tipping point towards once again prioritizing speech. Fact-checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created, especially in the US.
The shifting dynamics were not just political, but cultural as well. Corporations and institutions began recalibrating their strategies in anticipation of Trump's presidency. These changes underscored the influence of Trump's leadership style and how it reshaped various facets of American life. These changes marked a notable shift in the tech industry, which had often been perceived as leaning left. Zuckerberg's statement reflected how some corporations were moving away from practices that had drawn criticism during Trump's first term. These adjustments highlighted the growing influence of Trump's policies and public persona on corporate decision-making.
McDonald's is the latest major company to roll back some of its diversity, equity, and inclusion practices. The Golden Arches is not abandoning all diversity initiatives, but says it will retire specific goals, ending a supply chain DEI pledge, pausing participation in surveys from external groups, and no longer setting what it calls representation targets.
Even McDonald's, a brand synonymous with mainstream America, seemed to recalibrate its priorities in light of Trump's impending presidency. These moves indicated a broader trend where companies sought to align themselves with the incoming administration, reshaping their strategies to avoid conflict or garner favor.
But I had the greatest economy in history. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country. Despite that, this is another thing I can say, despite the fact that they weren't very high, but they were, reasonably high. And despite the rates not being at zero, I had a pretty good, we had a great run.
This self-assured declaration from Trump epitomized the confidence he carried into his presidency. His bold claims about economic success further set him apart from Obama's measured rhetoric and diplomatic tone. The contrast between these two leaders was as striking as ever, even in a moment of solemn reflection.
He's got a little bit of an edge, and he's angry about a lot of things. You look at what happened with Biden, and you look at what he did with Biden. He really hurt Biden because I'm not sure he wouldn't have imploded anyway. We had the debate, and he was down quite a bit, and they walked out, and they just took it away from him. I mean, if you think about it, they stole the election from a sitting president. That is a legendary thing.
The gathering of presidents at Carter's funeral became a visual representation of the evolving political landscape. The quiet conversation between Trump and Obama symbolized a momentary truce amidst the ongoing battle for public perception and legacy.
As we watch the casket come into the National Cathedral there, America shows the world over and over again that we might have really tough campaigns and there might be some really strong words said against each other, but we can come together like this over and over, unlike most other countries in the world.
Just look at this picture here, Dana. Screen left, you got Al Gore. Right in front of him, you got George Bush. They fought it out for 37 days in Tallahassee in late 2000. Next to Al Gore is Mike Pence, who has distanced himself considerably from his former boss, Donald Trump. And in front of Donald Trump is Doug Emhoff and his wife, Kamala Harris, who were just vanquished in November. And Brett, I mean, to Dana's point, this is quite remarkable. And it's one of those moments when people say, this is what makes America great.
Jimmy Carter's funeral was more than just a tribute to a life of service. It became a stage where America's political and cultural shifts were on full display. From Obama's incisive humor to Trump's unyielding confidence, their history of public clashes added depth to this already significant gathering. The presence of 5 living presidents underscored the unique fraternity of American leadership, even as it highlighted stark differences in ideology and style. Corporations like Facebook and Amazon recalibrated their approaches, reflecting the broader realignment happening in anticipation of Trump's return to power. As Mark Zuckerberg noted,
fact-checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created.
These adjustments weren't confined to tech. McDonald's, a symbol of mainstream American culture, also shifted its DEI policies. These corporate pivots signaled a larger shift toward aligning with the expected policies and priorities of a Trump administration, underscoring his undeniable influence over cultural and economic institutions. What do you think Trump and Obama discussed during their whispered exchange? Was it a sign of mutual respect, a continuation of their rivalry, or something entirely unexpected? And how do these corporate shifts shape your view of Trump's impending presidency? Share your thoughts in the comments below.